stick.
He won't let me throw
Let's
anything.
call the meeting to order at 6:31. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Not holding it. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May we have the roll call, please?
Jan Gaffney.
Here.
Tim Holcomb.
Here.
Allison McFadden Kiesling. Absent. Nancy Moon.
Yes.
Alan Panter. Absent. Marilyn Pomeroy.
Here.
Maggie Sands.
Here.
Julie Meredith here.
Hopefully the other two will walk in shortly. Could we have an approval of the agenda? Here comes one right now.
So moved.
I'll second.
A motion has been made and seconded to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those who disapprove, please say nay. Motion carried. And Allison McFadden Kiesling has joined us. Yes, thank you. Sorry I'm late. That's okay. You can tell I didn't wait on anybody. That's okay. That's no problem. You're late, you're late. Call to the public. Anybody in the public want to chat? I guess not. We're now at the consent agenda. Anybody have any questions or
there's
comments
Ellen.
after taking a look at the details? And here comes the next one.
Hey.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
I second.
We've had a motion to, sorry, out of breath. We've had a motion to approve the consent agenda and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those who disapprove, please say nay. Motion is carried. And our last person has just walked in. Alan,
Full board.
full house.
Yay.
Okay, Friends of the Library report?
Hi, our meeting is actually this Thursday coming, so I don't have a report for you this month. I have a hopefully bigger one next month.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Jim. Library statistics, please.
Okay, so you have a statistical report, and you had previously asked about adding measures for the meeting room. So you will see those are included in the report. That's something that we've been able to add. So there are a couple of highlights that Nicole helped me identify. If you look at some of the meeting room statistics, which are on the last pages, CR stands for community room, or for conference room. CMR is community meeting room. BC is business center. And you'll notice that there are a couple of times when it was a little lower than you might think it would be, like the CMR reservation in 2025. That's because it ran into the book sale. So, and then we had a lot of evening programs that month, as opposed to, for example, room rentals like homeowners associations and things like that. So that's why that number was a little bit lower.
I have a question. Where would the book sale be represented in the numbers?
It would be an internal.
Internal.
Yep,
Okay.
it would be internal. Any questions about any of that, or clarity needed?
Yeah, YAR.
Youth activities room.
Thank you.
Yep, sorry, I forgot to mention that one.
Yeah, C&T, CMR, BC, what are those?
C&T are children's and teen programs.
Okay.
This is great information. They are getting a lot of views.
Mm-hmm, they do. They really do. And when it comes to the meeting room usage, it is a lot of internal use. We would see a lot more patron use if we had more room to spare, but we have so many programs of our own going on, and we do fill those in first, so.
So, for instance, oh, that's a participant number, sorry. Never mind.
Mhm.
That's a huge number of 1,700 teens in the participant list.
Which one are you looking at?
Uh,
Oh, yeah,
C&T.
yep, yep. Any questions?
It's like everything's getting lots of use, so that's good.
Yes, it's nice to see the study rooms being used.
Yes.
I mean, it's nice that it's available to the public, but at least from looking at this, it doesn't sit empty very often, so,
No. Mm-mm.
so that's a
No.
good thing.
And we have a number of people that can be a notary, and it sure looks like it's needed.
We do a lot of notary work. And that's especially a nice, it started out as a service for the schools because they have different permission slips and things that needed to be signed, the residency forms and that sort of thing. But now that word has gotten out that we do this, residents really are using it for a multitude of purposes. So it's a really good service.
Any questions? This is very nice, thank you.
Good. And thank you. Mike is the one who puts those together. He and Bill gather them all up and compile them into a report for you. So, give credit where credit is due.
Okay, the library director's report, please.
Okay. Under We Are a Community Collaborator, we will be joining libraries all over the state of Michigan in celebrating the 20th anniversary of MELCAT. Michigan's statewide e-library system is hosted by the Library of Michigan and funded in part by the Federal Institute for Museum and Library Services, known as the IMLS. MELCAT links over 435 libraries, providing access to share over 35 million physical books, films, and audio materials. Over 1 million items were loaned through MELCAT in 2024, and of that, CIDL borrowed 6,311 items for our residents. If we had purchased those items at the average cost of $15 each, it would have cost $94,665. So
Savings.
it's a huge savings. It is a huge savings for us. Next item, each year, CIDL participates in our local 4th of July parade. We will use this high visibility event to celebrate the MELCAT anniversary and promote our summer reading program. The Friends of the Library have provided candy and bookmarks for us to give away and t-shirts to wear highlighting this year's summer reading theme, Color Our World. In terms of we are a go-to place for learning and resources, today is the launch of our annual summer reading program, one of our biggest projects each year. This program encourages all ages to keep reading throughout the summer months. Seeing Adults Reading models for kids the importance of reading for all ages, and taking time to read during the summer months helps kids maintain and even strengthen their skills during the long school break. Participants log their reading throughout the summer on Beanstack, the library's summer reading program app, and receive raffle tickets to enter a drawing for themed gift baskets. On Saturday, June 14th, the library hosts an all-ages kickoff event from 1 to 3 p.m. Attractions include an animal show, pet adoption from Four Paws Cat and Canine Rescue, a bubble station, obstacle course, petting zoo, face painting, ice cream, snacks, games, and more. Thank you to our sponsors, Bowman Chevrolet, David W. Elliott Foundation, Vibe Credit Union, and of course, our Friends of the Library. Next item, in honor of the upcoming 250th birthday of the United States and the American Revolution, the Sashabaw Plains chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution made a donation to fund new books for the youth collection featuring this important time in history. Youth librarian Anna Twitty selected the books, and DAR chapter members Margaret Balanowski and Susan Ring joined us for a photo in the Clarkston News highlighting this wonderful gift. Thank you, DAR. We are a vital organization. Kathy Stewart, Administrative Assistant in Accounts Payable and Receivable, and I have begun work on a project to review and update the library's finance policies. The first policy being reviewed is the purchasing policy. In addition to using the Library of Michigan's Public Library Financial Management Guide, we have collected sample policies from a number of libraries of our size. We are in the process of compiling a concise policy that covers the important best practices. We plan to have Alan Panter review our draft when it is ready and hope to present it to the board for approval later this summer. And then lastly, in 2024, the library launched a number of makerspace-based services for patrons, such as 3D printing and Glowforge and sublimation projects. People who use these services pay the library for materials to defray the costs. When collecting these payments, the library is responsible for turning sales tax over to the state of Michigan. During the process of setting this up, the state also informed us that we should be turning over sales tax for photocopies. To assure that we are in compliance, we adjusted our workflows to turn these funds over each month. Unfortunately, we discovered that when we budgeted for the total amount that we would turn over for the year, we underestimated. The library board does end-of-year budget adjustments in December, so we normally can correct this, but overlooked this line because it appeared that it would be adequately funded. When the final transfer was made to the state in December, it put the line over by $45. We wanted to make you aware of this at this time because it will show up on our audit. So I take the full responsibility for that misstep. But I wanted to let you know before you came that it would be there. So, any questions?
I was going to tease you and say it was going to be like $3.
No,
So
it was
45 is more.
No, it was $45. So,
How many copies does that represent?
well, it's hard to say it's in copies because it's also the sublimation printing and the sublimation and the 3D printing, and the 3D printing is based on how much filament. It's by weight, and we charge by the weight of it. So I can't say exactly,
That's okay.
but
That's
yeah. But we should have seen it and looked, I should have looked more closely at the previous months and realized how much it was each month. I looked at it, I'm like, oh, that looks like enough. It wasn't. So, yeah, my mistake.
I
Well, if
think we
that's-
can
if
live
that's
with the
the worst
45
mistake,
Yep.
then.
I don't like surprises when the auditor comes, though. I'd rather out myself now and have you know about it.
If that's the most serious audit we get, I think we'll be in pretty good shape.
So far, I think that's
I
all,
agree.
that's all.
I think we will all survive the budget, that's it.
Yes. All right.
Okay, we're now ready for regular business, the update of the vault policy.
Okay, so at the March 10th meeting, the library board reviewed and approved the CIDL vault policy. Now that the policy has been in place over this unique collection for a few months, we've discovered that some small adjustments are needed to streamline the workflow and patron experience. This policy was reviewed and finalized by Ann Sarek, the library's attorney specializing in library law. And Neil was going to be here to present it to you, but I believe we have David today instead. Is that the case? Yes, this is not Neil, this is David.
It's all good.
So after implementing the policy, we just, Neil looked at best practices that other libraries had done in similar circumstances, and we identified just a few places we could streamline the process. Instead, dividing the collection into tier 1 and tier 2 items. Under the new policy, patrons would only have to sign waivers the first time they check out a tier 2 item. A tier 2 item would just be things that are a little more expensive for us or generally more complex. So like an air fryer, for example, which might have more moving parts or more risky parts depending on its use. So we decided to put a handful of items, I think 4 or 5 or 6 as of this time, before the vault makes any other additions. So we put a few items in tier 2, and then patrons would just have to sign a waiver the first time they check that out, and that is good on, we would keep that on file, and that is good until their card expires.
And it's quite extensive.
Yes.
I-
So the credit goes all to Neil for researching exactly what every library is doing in this situation. He's gone around and around with various department heads in circulation, in tech services, to make sure that the process would kind of work well for everyone, most importantly though, the patron.
Thank you. I'm assuming tier 1 would be like the cake pans
Yes.
that hang
The
in Neil's
very
office.
basic, straightforward stuff that is unlikely to result in.
Do you know how much usage we've had of the vault so far? Did Neil mention that?
I know we were looking at reports like a month ago. The collection as a whole is definitely being used. A handful are more seasonal items. The Easter cake pan, for example, is probably more likely to have been used recently than the Christmas tree one.
Right.
I don't have the numbers too closely, unfortunately.
And how are the patrons being informed of what's available in the vault?
There is a dedicated vault page on the website. Vault items are indicated with a tag in the catalog, so they can search by that. There is a kiosk near the information desk with tags of everything that's currently checked in and available for checkout. We are promoting it on social media. A lot of word of mouth. People wander in and say, hey, what's this? And we tell them, did you know you can get so much more than books and ebooks and CDs and DVDs and puppets and board games and all that. So it's another avenue for us to tell our patrons all about the kinds of things they can get.
Very good, thank you.
Thanks, Dave. And I believe the Friends newsletter, one of their newsletters had a whole topic on the vault, had pictures and a whole list.
I've also been discussing it with Neil, where the IT department's going to start a program called Tech Days. We'll make like a short little video explaining the use of some sort of technology or something like that. And the more complex things in the vault are going to be the subject matter that we bring up in some of those videos.
Well, that's a wonderful idea.
That's good. So just for clarification, the only changes we made from the policy we approved are the highlighted items? Everything else is?
So one of the things that Neil and I talked about was the fact that when we first rolled this out, and Nicole can kind of attest to this, is that we were having everyone that was checking out fill out a waiver, and we realized that that was overkill. Even if they were only doing tier 1, so we thought, well, we want to have it on file, and that's part of what you're seeing as a change tonight is you sign the form the first time you check out a tier 2. So you can check out all the tier 1s you want without having to fill out a waiver. Up until this point, we've been saying, oh, if you're going to check out anything from the vault, fill out a form in case you decide to fill out a tier 2. Or check out it. So that's part of what you're seeing is that change.
This is a much better.
It was a little
I think
bit,
it's better,
it
'cause
seems.
the waiver is so long
It-
and so thorough.
Yeah. It seemed
that would be
easy and-
intimidating.
It's off-putting if you want just a cake pan.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
We also thought this would streamline the process to have, just free up a little bit of time for our folks at the Surf Fest. They don't have to do the constant waiting for
Right.
the paperwork and all that.
Well, and the other piece is that Nicole is in charge of all records retention, and so all of those forms go to her, and she was going to be tracking them all, and we have to keep them for a certain number of years based on records retention policies and whatever. Thought it was going to be a lot of forms if all you're going to do is check out a cake pan once.
Yeah.
So,
Sounds excellent.
yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you, David. I believe, do we need to do, since this has been approved, don't we have to approve it a second time? Yes.
No.
Yes, yep.
I'll move that we approve the vault policy with the changes as presented.
And I'll second.
Okay, we got it. We've had, a motion's been made and a second has been made twice. To approve the updated vault policy as presented. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those who disapprove, please say nay. Motion carried. Thank you.
All right, we're going to call upon David again.
Yes.
So I'll go ahead and read the backstory on this. So last fall, Detroit Free Press writer Dave Burkett published Detroit Lions, an illustrated timeline, coinciding with the franchise's return to a powerhouse in the NFL with aspirations of being a serious contender for Super Bowl title. When identifying new and different kinds of programs to bring to our patrons, Silberman read and heard overwhelmingly positive feedback from a number of other area libraries indicating that the program was well attended and that the presenter was informative and as well as entertaining. Burkett has agreed to present this program of the same name on September 30th, 2025. Upon looking into how other area libraries promoted this event, several indicated that books would be available for purchase before or at the event, or so that guests have a chance for the author to sign copies. David advised Mr. Burkett that our policy restricting sales and money changing hands at the event, Mr. Burkett indicated that he doesn't expect a lot of sales of the book to come out since last fall, but he'd like to offer it as an option for the patrons. Now, just so that the board is aware, the way our meeting room policy is written is that we don't allow commercial sales. Technically, I do have permission usually from the board to go ahead and approve this sort of thing. I did have, when we were going to take money, or when money was going to be changing hands for the pet adoption, I brought that to you. But I did suggest that maybe David could bring this to you just as an opportunity for you to hear about the program itself and to talk a little bit about it out loud and whatever. And I thought, I don't mind turning it over if you'd like to make the approval yourselves. So it's a small thing, but I just thought it would be nice for him to come in and tell you more about it. So.
So as indicated, Mr. Burkett has made the rounds in a number of local libraries, including Tamarack District Library, St. Clair County, Tecumseh, Birmingham Baldwin, and Dearborn Public. So I was just trying to get the lay of the land, how they were marketing it, how the program was received, and just to set expectations. I wanted to include information such as that in our marketing so that patrons would know in advance if there are copies for purchase, in case they're looking to make a purchase for themselves or buy a holiday gift to store for a few months and then give away. And Mr. Burkett indicated that because the book came out last fall, like he said, he's not expecting a whole lot or anything, but we'd love to offer the option for patrons.
Now, would we want to approve this on an individual basis based on who the author is and what the title is?
We usually approve them as they come up, just so that,
Yeah.
just to review them as they come up. We don't want to give a
Probably wouldn't want
blanket. Yeah. As I said, most of the time, if it's a library program and we're just selling something that seems library related to the program, for example, books or whatever, those kinds of things, the board generally says, it's a library, we're going to sell books at an author event, that's probably okay for the director. If it's anything that's a little bit out of the ordinary, like the pet adoption, I'm going to kick it over to you all so that you can take a look at it and know more about what it is that money is exchanging hands for. But I just thought this was a really good opportunity because you had indicated that you wanted to see more of the staff, so.
Yes.
David, is he going to be signing his books too?
I would imagine so.
Okay.
I'd be
Might be a
happy
nice
with
thing to include in the marketing for people who are thinking about a gift. That, just a reminder that they can, as long as he confirms that. Have you read the book?
that. I have not.
Oh, if it's any good, but
Not
go,
yet.
hopefully the Lions will have another winning season.
I tend to personally dive more towards baseball books, but
Okay, all right.
it's also baseball season right now, so maybe as the fall approaches,
There you go. And now that
And
you're
he is
you're
coming-
hosting it, you must.
Yes. And of course,
Any
he is
good host
coming
would.
at the beginning of football season.
Yeah.
We actually scheduled this, I believe it's,
September?
it's like right after the Lions make an appearance on Monday Night Football, we anticipate that.
Right.
Oh,
the
good
hype should
timing,
be-
yeah.
Yes, that was an excellent idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
David is really good at capitalizing on good planning, so he's really good at that. We're very lucky to have him.
Julie, I think I've spoken with you about this before. Years ago, when the Lions were just perennially atrocious, and programming, it wasn't ever something I needed to cover. As they've gotten back into being a real team, I find myself trying not to compete against them on fall Sunday programs as much and things like that. Just being cognizant of the fact that people might be more inclined to want to stay in on a Sunday and watch them. Whereas I personally, I grew up with the Lions just so bad that I wanted any excuse to get out of them.
Like, listen, we don't need to get political.
I remember when they last won a championship.
Any other comments or questions?
No.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
We've had a motion, and it's been seconded to give permission to David to sell copies of his book at the Detroit Lions and Illustrated Timeline Program at the library on September 30th, 2025. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those who disapprove, please say nay. Motion carried. And I want to say, David, you brought some excellent programs recently. Of course, I was in favor of the DSO.
That was excellent.
And the pony cycle was excellent. I mean, Terry's a terrific speaker. You've brought in a wonderful variety. I missed the yo-yo one, but I'm sure it was just as good. So thank you. I think now we're on to HR software.
All right. You want me to go ahead and read your summary for you?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so one of the projects that is a priority under Strategic Direction 3, we are a vital organization, is improvements to our HR practices. We have identified 3 key areas to address: onboarding, training, and internal communication. In all 3 cases, the weak point is creating a workflow that assures that all employees are consistently receiving the information they need to execute their jobs well. Some trainings are universal to all employees, while others are position-specific. Due to the growth in our staff and the widely varying schedules of full and part-time employees in an operation that is open to the public 60 to 65 hours per week, Tracking these details can be complicated. To that end, we have been researching HR software options that will provide us with a centralized way to assure each employee's needs are being met. The process of this research and recommended solution will be reviewed with the board. Just so that you know, in terms of funding, there is $57,242 in undesignated revenue. This money was intended to be inserted into the budget as our strategic plan activity priorities take shape through the year. So I'm going to let Nicole take it from here. She has really spearheaded this project.
Okay. So, this is just a basic overview here. So it's the strategic direction number 3 is kind of what we're talking about here. So involving our staff and really getting them, trained and feeling comfortable while they're here. And this system here that we'll be looking at is called the Human Resource Information System. So it's kind of cool. I didn't know that this system existed. So we compared 3 different types of software. So currently we have Paychex. Paychex is our payroll provider. Okay, so that's a big provider for us now. They do also have HR software available, but it's for usually like wide-scale, large companies. So it's about more employee management for employees that don't do as well, or things like that. It wasn't really what would fit our needs very well. And the pricing model was also a little bit rough. We'll talk about that in a second. Paylocity and Bamboo HR were very similar. They both are HR service platforms that also serve payroll as well, but their pricing were a little bit different. So Paylocity had more of the modular pricing, so in a way that everything that you want, you add each piece, whereas Bamboo HR had large components that were for a certain amount per person each month. Okay, so the one that we decided on, or we really liked, was Bamboo HR, so I'm just going to kind of explain a little bit about that to you guys and why we liked it. So it kind of came down to we were able to implement it in a different way. So Paylocity is a payroll company first, right? And they had HR component after. But what we really were looking for was an HR component, right? So we have Paychex now, they do okay, and we're all right with them, right? But we wanted this other component for training and all these other pieces. So what we found is that if we go through Bamboo HR, we're able to implement all of those pieces now, and then potentially do the payroll and all that later. So then we get one comprehensive system, but it kind of all works together at our pace versus kind of being pushed quickly into something else that we weren't quite ready for. So this is kind of some of the fun stuff it can do, okay, because I like that and I think it's fun. So it's really cool. It can create job postings across many different platforms, very easily, very uniform. It can do a whole bunch of different things like emails and all responses within the platform. When you bring in an employee for onboarding, you can have your whole system set up in there with automatic reminders going out to everybody so that everybody is left, no one's left behind, right? Everyone knows that what they need to do, and everyone is, it's very easy to see. And again, lots of reminders, very important. Onboarding, again, this is after they've come in. So this is like the employee packet, so we wouldn't have to have paper packets anymore, so they wouldn't have to come in early to grab those or fill them out their first day. They can do it in the comfort of their home, just do it right through the computer. They can also do, again, different onboarding tasks and say, hey, David, you're responsible for doing the tour, whatever, right? So every person kind of has their piece in helping, again, the employee feel more at home here. So this is just kind of a fun little example of kind of what it looks like. Yeah, so it's kind of like you can see like the job opening over here, and it goes through. You can also see this here. It's included. We actually get the software for the phones and tablets and things included, whereas Paychex, we always had to pay extra for that. So that's a nice little perk for the staff as well, so they'll be able to do all of that on their phone, which is great. Okay, so the big part of the reasoning is the training. Okay, so the training is something we really wanted to set up for the staff. This is not only for people who are coming into our company, so that we can tell them about Clarkston, our library here, tell them all about what we want to focus on, right? But also just so they get the same training across the board. So as we build out our training programs, it'll be for the people who are coming in, but also people who are here, right? So this way we can see who has done the training, who's struggling with it, all those different things to be able to help each employee at a different level. The other really cool component with Bango HR is this internal communication. So this here is kind of what it looks like. It kind of looks almost like a very older Facebook, if you will, or a social media platform. So what this gives is it gives an opportunity for employees to not only have announcements all in one place, so it's not as easy to miss, for example, as like an email, might be in your massive emails, but it also gives like fun little quirky places that you can have other fun things. So we can have little library gifts or whatever, because we all want to do that, and it's hard to reply all to those emails and get all those. So let's give the staff also a fun place to have that community within the group for people they may not always see. So this is like the core piece of Bango HR. So this is kind of just a little bit of inclusive what the payroll system would look like if we switched over to this one. It's very similar to paychecks, not really much different, just a little bit different of a pricing scale. So pretty much about the same. We have all our same policies, so staff would be fairly simple, meaning the same. We would just make sure to do training as we went on as well, which is probably the reason we're waiting for 2026 for this. So we want to train them in the other portions first, and then we bring on more, so that no one feels overwhelmed. And these are just a couple other things that the Pro version of the software offers as well. Things like employee surveys, performance management, so that'd be like our
Evaluation.
Thank you. Or even announcement tracking, just to make sure, again, that the people that we are seeing, those important announcements, library's closed today, power outage, we know who's looking at those. Okay? Okay, so the pricing can be a little confusing. I know you guys saw this in your packet. Okay, so what we currently pay right now for paychecks per year is about $12,700. Okay, and then this is what we're requesting eventually. So this is what we were thinking. So for the first 6 months going forward, we don't need the Pro price, right? Because we're not going to be implementing any of that until later. So there's no need to add that on along with the payroll price. So we would kind of just do the Bango Core with the paychecks pricing for the 6 months, and then next year we would ramp that up to the Pro. You can see it's about a $4,000 difference between paychecks, which is what we're paying now, and the Bango HR Pro. So it would be like $4,000 more a year with all the HR software, all of those features included, and our payroll. Does that make sense?
Yeah, now this gives the employees and you a
Yes.
chance to get used to core before
Yes.
you advance to more Pro.
Right. And they always try to sales pitch, and it's like, hey, well, you can save money on implementation if you try it this way first, blah, blah, blah. But Julie and I really sat down and talked, and he said, what are the chances that we're gonna roll everything out at once? It's just gonna confuse the staff, it's gonna make everyone frustrated, and it's just not worth it, right? So we're gonna do the first piece first, the communication and the training, and our onboarding process, and get those nice and squared away over the next 6 months. And then we'll jump into doing the payroll and the next pieces. Okay. So the budget adjustment that this would need for this year is $6,000. It's a little bit more because there's an implementation cost of about $2,500 that goes in the first piece for the Bango HR. There is no additional cost to go up next year to the Pro, but there would be a payroll implementation fee if we decided to do that for next year. Any questions?
I have
Yes.
some. Maybe 2 or 3 questions
Yeah,
and or
sure.
comments. The first is you talked about training modules,
Yes.
presumably for new associates or new employees as well as current. What do you envision will be part of those training modules?
So the really cool thing about this is you can build it out however you like. So we do have, some different things like Niche Academy that are geared towards libraries, but some of it will be staff here at our library. So Mike was talking about doing, for example, some computer training or things like that. We can add any videos that we like on there. So as far as what we are doing with that, I'm also chatting with each of the department heads, and we're setting up a core plan for like what they need to help train their people in. So that's the items that will go on there. It could be just an acknowledgement, yes, I've done this, I've done this piece, or it could be something like a little quiz to a video that they have done. Does that make sense?
Yeah, a little bit. It actually goes to the, a little bit of one of the second questions and/or statements, I don't know which it is, that I had, which was making sure we have clarity on what is a sort of this social or group chat conversation
Yes.
capability versus something that are actually employee information we need to know and acknowledge
Yes.
that they have seen, because
So-
it's more vital.
Yeah, that was one of the things that was really important to us. So with that pro piece, you can guarantee that, like, the one announcement piece that they are, like, enrolled in, and they can't unenroll. But the other ones, they could unenroll out of. So, like, let's say you don't really want anything else, you don't have to be a part of it. And I think the naming structure will be really important in that. So there's gonna be the main announcement group, and then there'll be other ones that are cats or dogs or pets or whatever we would set those up to be. Sissy would help with that, because she's really good at that.
Today's best book.
Today's best book, or, yeah, I mean, like.
Yeah,
just-
from that side, is that internal or external? That's all internal
It's
facing,
all
correct?
internal.
Yeah, I would recommend some level of discipline about the groups that get set up and how many you allow, because it can spiral out of
100%.
control. And also, in a big group like this, you also have to monitor a little bit for
Yes.
Appropriateness, propriety, given the workplace.
100%.
The last thing I'll just flag, and I'm supportive, by the way. The last thing I'll flag is you said something about the employee packet, and I actually think
Yes.
you want them to be here to do that because they probably officially can get paid for it. So you
Yes.
want to watch your clock time.
Yes, so most people generally do enjoy that. Some of our younger pages that come in don't want to do it here because their parents help them. So that would be an option for them. Of course, if that were the case and they still would like to get paid for it, they are more
Yeah,
than welcome to
I
have
think
their
they
hours
need
in.
to be paid for it.
Yeah,
So
so,
we'll
yeah,
have
of
to
course.
figure it out. Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
What I like is that we want to have consistency so that we know that each employee is getting a consistent picture of what needs to be done, not based on different people doing it at different
Yes.
times, and then you don't know that they've all gotten the complete picture.
Correct.
Okay.
Just to build off of that, I also like that it's for people that have already been here, because we've always done it this way, but maybe that's not the way we're doing it now.
Right.
And so this is a good chance for you to be informed and to learn more. And I like the community piece. I can understand the concern about it, maybe descending to something inappropriate. I cannot imagine it in a library. I just think it would be just a place for community, you know, somebody's birthday or whatever.
This is something staff has kind of been asking for, is kind of like an intranet that they can kind of do these types of things on, because, again, we've had some people where they're replying back to emails, and it's kind of like fun little, like, library memes and things, but then it makes the announcement get kind of lost in the shuffle. So, again, you know, it's gonna be a little bit of a learning curve for us as well, and setting up those parameters and everything, so definitely something to watch out for and kind of look for before it happens, or before it becomes a big
Yeah.
problem or anything like that, but.
I can't emphasize enough that there's an important screening process or discipline you'll want to put against that, because inevitably people will put up something that brings along strong opinion from others, so you'll have to need some rules.
Of
on
course.
that.
Did they mention what their support model is? Like, is it just by phone only or email or?
Yeah, so it was kind of an interesting support model. So they have, they actually have an AI piece too, which I think that you would find kind of interesting for the pro. So they can even scan like documents and things for our employees. But when we call in, you don't actually have a specific person that you talk to. So you call in, you have your problem, you talk to the person, you stay with that person for the entirety of the problem, and then you're released. The reason for that is when we call for paychecks currently, we have one person who's on our account. And if our person's not in,
Yeah.
no one can make the changes on our account.
Is it
So-
billable, like per inquiry, or is it just part of it? Is it included as part of the overall
It's just part of the overall,
cost?
yeah.
Interesting.
So what's really unique about Bamboo HR in general and is that it's a per month basis fee
Yeah.
versus a per payroll fee, like how paychecks is. So.
Did they say if they're doing it, like, we're not like, we would not be contractually bound at a certain rate, like that could potentially increase,
No.
like, at some point?
So it could fluctuate up or down a little bit because it
Yeah.
is per employee. So it could go up or down a little bit. Right now, we have about 55 employees, which is kind of on our higher end of what we normally have. And as you go up or down a little bit, there's a little bit of
Yeah, I see
a
that.
percentage, I think it's like 11% right now. But he said he goes about 25 employees where that completely falls off. So there'll always
Yeah.
be, I think between like 45 and 55 is generally where we stay for our employees, and 45 would be pretty slim.
Did they happen to say, is that like cloud hosted, or would it be something that Bill and you guys would install here locally? Did they say anything about that?
I don't know.
I'm just
I
curious.
don't know. I would say probably cloud, because it's not anything
Right.
here. They did not talk
Well,
about
plus
setting anything up here.
I was thinking of the electrical reliability issues
Oh.
that we've had here too.
Right.
If
Yeah.
that goes away, like, you don't want payroll data to disappear or something like that.
Yeah.
So this
Well,
would
I
be,
assume it would be posted separately. It's the
Okay.
same way that paychecks is also stored
exactly, right.
externally.
So this would not run in parallel with that, it would replace it.
Correct. It would replace paychecks entirely next year.
Question,
Mm-hmm.
you have different levels of employees.
Yes.
Does everyone have the same access, or do some people have
It would
X
have-
and some have X minus Y, or how do you
Yeah,
do that?
so each employee would have a different level of access depending on what it is. So even how Paychex is set up currently, you have like your regular main user who uses it for putting in their timesheets and just accessing their own account. Next level would be manager, so they're the ones who are doing approvals, but they don't see necessarily everything like Julie and I do, and then there's the administrator accounts. So we would set up something similar in here as well. So again, you know, I'm not a good example, but David might not necessarily be able to see everyone's information. He's not going to log into any of their employee profiles and things like that. Like there's going to be sensitive data and information that is exclusive to just certain people.
Now, would David have access only to his staff?
Yes, generally that's how it is.
Okay.
Mhm.
And even within that, there are still pieces that he doesn't have access to.
Correct.
Right, I would assume so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. So like the HR data is separate from the payroll data. Yes.
Sorry, David.
You're here.
We'd love to
so-
use you as an example.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments?
It sounds like a nice cleaning up of that, and that's been a concern of the staff in terms of
Yes.
who's communicating what and so forth. So I think it's a good thing to try.
The one piece she didn't mention is how we selected these particular
Oh, yes,
products.
that's right, yes.
Do you want
Yeah.
to tell them how we selected?
Yeah, so when we originally reached out, there was like a big email chain, and so between Paylocity and Bamboo HR, they both were different libraries were using them. Which was the library that used this one again? I'm sorry. Was it?
Bloomfield Township?
Bloomfield. Yeah,
Yep,
Bloomfield.
and Canton uses Paylocity.
Yes.
So we had a chance to talk to their staff and hear more about what they liked, what they didn't like, that kind of thing, so.
Yeah, and they were both well liked by both of them. They both are, it was very close. Paylocity and Bamboo HR both had a lot of great features. And what it really came down to us was the rollout. They were going to kind of try to force it for us for Paylocity, and the problem was is we felt that it might be a little rushed in the end because they generally do their payroll systems first and then they implement all the HR stuff over a couple of months. We wanted it to be the opposite for our staff. So.
Because we already have.
Because we already have a payroll system, so we wanted to get the piece in that we didn't have, and then if we like the company and things go well, then we might consider doing their payroll and everything as well in the future.
What kind of time frame are you looking for?
So it takes at least 6 weeks for them to even do the setup, so probably around 2 months before it's really up and ready to go. So I'm hoping by the end of this year that we'll have those 3 main pieces kind of up and running and starting to go, and then next year is when we'll focus on the payroll and the other pieces of that you guys saw up there.
So really, we'll be getting partway through the summer program before it really becomes available.
Yeah. And what'll be nice about that is that's gonna be me working on it, so I'm not so busy during the summer months because I'm just in the admin office, right? So I'll be able to be setting up their employee profiles and doing all of that, getting some training documents ready to be able to introduce to them, while everything's kind of just running the same for them during the summer. When the summer's over, then we can start implementing some of the software to the staff.
Okay, terrific.
Are you guys looking at trying to flip the switch on the payroll as of January 1st?
Not necessarily, no, not right away.
Okay. How do you handle things like W-2s at that point?
So if it
Both
transfers
sides.
over, they pull all the data in. So let's say we
Oh, so
have
they-
one,
Okay,
yeah, so then the W-2 would come from the new company.
okay.
Because they said that if we wanted to switch right now, they could do that, and they would have gotten it that way this year.
Good question.
Yeah, I'd imagine Bamboo's probably worked with Paychecks on numerous occasions, so.
Yeah, they actually do have like an integration piece, but what they said is that eventually you end up upkeeping both profiles,
Yeah,
so,
redundant, yeah.
correct. Any other questions?
Thank you. You did a
Thanks.
wonderful job.
We always appreciate the hard work that goes into the selection, the recommendation.
May we have a motion to approve the proposal for Bamboo HR as presented?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the proposal for Bamboo HR as presented.
I'll
And-
second. Oh, sorry, go
Oh,
ahead.
that's okay. And approve a budget adjustment of, I think it was
$6,000, yes.
6,000.
from undesignated revenue to line 801, professional and contract services.
And I'll second all of it, the whole thing.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the proposal for Bamboo HR as presented, and a budget adjustment transfer of $6,000 from undesignated revenue to line 801.
I have a question before we vote, if you don't mind.
Yes.
I know that we had mentioned doing it for 6 months before we incurred the more expensive system. So we are still approving the funding for the more expensive system despite the trial period, the 6-month trial period. Is that the proposal?
So, I think it'll probably come back to you guys, because we wanna make sure that we like Bamboo HR, and that, cause we don't wanna be like stuck with them if we don't love them.
Mm-hmm.
Right, Julie, that's how I understood it,
Yeah.
so, like, I wanted you to be aware of like the cost and everything in the future, but approval right now is for this 6 months, and then we'll come back and say, hey, we love it, it's going great, let's move
So
forward.
if we love
So
it, we'd go to pro in
Right.
the next budget.
The way we would roll it out is that she's asking for it now because we don't currently have it. And then in the process of writing the budget between now and when you approve the budget, November, December, we will let you know what we plan to do for 2026, and you would approve it at that time when we actually write the budget for 2026.
So we're fundamentally writing something in the budget that we will not be spending this year?
No.
No. No,
6,000
we're
is
adding
for this
6,000 into 2025 budget so that we
Would you mind
can,
going back on the slides a little?
Yeah.
Because I thought it was 11,000, so it was actually a little bit of a savings. And you said we were gonna run that for 6 months.
Okay, so the
Did I
reason that it's a little
misunderstand
bit
it?
more, Matt, is because it's a $2,500 implementation fee, so that's why it feels like a little bit more. So this would be like cost if we just did just the software, and then you would have to add 2,500, that'd be like the total yearly cost for just the software. Does that make sense? So,
that's the annual cost, and we're only
That's the
getting
annual
6
cost.
months.
So yearly cost for paychecks right now is $12,000.
correct, that's what we're paying currently.
And we're keeping
Yearly
it.
cost for Bamboo, don't tell me if it's 6 months, tell me full year, how much would Bamboo be?
If we bought it all year for the HR software, it would be $5,500.
For everything.
Right, but you'd have to add the implementation fee of $2,500.
And that's just the HR piece, not the payroll piece.
Correct.
So we have 5,800 plus 2,500 is what we need to get the HR part going. Got it.
If we were doing the whole year, but since we're starting in
Correct.
June, we only need
Okay.
6 months of that.
Does that
Thank
make
you.
sense?
Does that make sense?
Yeah, so we're adding a new service that we're paying for, and then
Yes.
our payroll cost goes down in the future. So
Yes.
net, it is more expensive, it's an extra,
Yes,
$4,000 or whatever, but, okay,
But we're picking up all the HR pieces that we didn't have before.
thank you.
So,
yes.
Is everybody clear with that now?
I think so.
good questions.
Yes. Okay, well, we've had a motion, we've got a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those who disapprove, please say nay. Motion has carried for your software, Nicole.
We look forward to the evaluation.
Will we hear from you before you go to Pro?
Yes.
Okay, terrific.
If you'd
So
like, I could come in and do like a little,
that would be
kind of,
lovely.
you know, how we're liking it,
Yeah.
or,
I
or
think
you
that,
just want to hear it, you want to do that?
yeah, I think that would be lovely. You know, because if we're saying this we really like, and now we're gonna move our payroll to that,
Correct. Yeah.
it'd be nice to have an understanding of what HR component looks like.
So we can tie that in when we do the budget and either have you
Perfect.
come in.
Sounds good.
Okay, very good.
Okay, now we are talking about team software.
Okay. As we conclude our transition from strategic planning to implementation of our plan, the library's leadership team is aware of the importance of internal communication and efficient project management as we begin to execute new initiatives as outlined in our strategic plan activity plan. In order to assure the timelines are shared, tasks are tracked, and responsibilities are clear, we have been investigating project management software. Many of the products are free on a small scale, allowing the opportunity to test drive various options. After researching several products, comparing various features, and trying different choices, we would like to move forward with Todoist, a solution that is flexible, easy to use, scalable, and economical for our team size. A budget adjustment of $2,000 is being requested to fund this project. And once again, there's that $57,000 in undesignated revenue, of which we have just earmarked $6,000 of it. So I didn't do quite as much in terms of this software because I'm not sure that you want to necessarily see all the ins and outs of what we did. But in terms of what is Todoist? So Todoist is an interesting product in that it is made for teams, and it is task management, project management, time management. And the thing that, the way that I rolled this one out is I looked for a number of different kinds of task and project management softwares. I looked at a bunch of different reviews, like PC Magazine and that kind of thing, looking at different things. I had staff look at a few different things, tell me what they liked. We've done things like Monday.com and some of those in the past. This one, I started out using it myself. I looked at a number of things. I thought, you know what, I'm going to try it. It's free when you have it on your own, so I put it into my phone. I started using it. You can also have it on your computer. I did that. You can also use it on wearable devices. I do not have a wearable device, but I used the other two and started working on that. The second piece of it is that you can create projects and invite in other people. So how did I test that part? I actually brought in a family member. I brought in my brother. My brother and I are working on a project together. We are moving my dad. So we have been testing this out and whatever. Once I played with it for a little while, I thought, you know, this is a pretty interesting software. The next step was to pick some people on staff to give it a try. And so what I did was I took my own team. At this point, we're still working for free. So I invited in Nicole, and Nicole and I started using it. And then we brought in Bill. We also brought in Kathy, and we have been using it. And basically what you could do is you can create your own to-do list, and then you create separate projects, and you can invite people to your projects. And the thing that I like about Todoist is that you could create your list of tasks, you create a date of when it's due, you can create a deadline of when it has to be done, and you assign it to people. And the most useful part of it is that then it pops right onto your personal to-do list. The thing that I like most about this is in terms of flexibility, and this is the part where we have fallen down on a number of occasions trying to find a software that's really flexible for our diverse staff, is that we all like to look at things different. We have tried Trello, we have tried Monday.com, we've tried all different kinds of Kanban and all these various things over the course of time in the 19 years we've been here. This one I like because it combines all of those and allows the flexibility of each employee to say, I want to do it this way. And while Nicole can do it her way, I can open it up on my computer and I can do it my way. And where we had struggled in the past was finding a software platform that was not, this is the one that Julie likes, everybody get on board. This is the one that everybody can kind of customize to the level of need that they want. I am using it on a lot of my to-do lists. Nicole's looking at it as strictly for project management, and she does her day-to-day task monitoring in a different way. And that's where the flexibility comes in. So basically what we've done is we've been playing with it for free, and we like it, and we are now asking for $2,000 from now to the end of the year to bring in the rest of the staff. We will roll it out to the department heads first, and then to other people later. The really nice thing about this platform is you pay per person per month, but you pay based on, there's administrators, there are people that you invite in that are members that are able to manage projects and be part of the team. And then you are able to bring in some people for free that would be people that only work with you for certain kinds of projects. So for example, our graphic designer who is contracted, we can invite him in to use to be on a project with us. We can assign him all kinds tasks and deadlines and things like that, he has a free Todoist account, and we don't have to pay for him. And the minute the project is over, he disconnects and it's done. We can do that with our accountant, our contracted accountant. She can have a free Todoist account. We can invite her in as a sort of a guest situation. She can work with us on different projects, but we don't have to pay for her. And so this gives us a lot of flexibility. In terms of pricing, it's also very economical compared to a lot of the other things, and it is scalable for the size of the organization. So the nicest part about this is that if we determine that it is primarily being used by the leadership team and people who are most active in certain projects, those are the people we pay for. And if we have other members of staff that are only going to pop in to do some projects, for example, we invite a page in to do something for strategic planning, we can invite them in, we don't have to pay for that. We can invite them in as guests. And when they're done, they can just unsubscribe.
So it's sort of like project leaders are the ones that you're paying for.
Exactly. The project leaders and members, anybody who would be actively making changes to the project themselves. This is a much different kind of payment platform than most of them are. Most of them you pay for the entire staff, and it gets really pricey really fast. The other nice thing about this is that it is on month by month. And if we at some point determine that we don't like it anymore, all we have to do is unsubscribe. Those employees that still love it can keep their free accounts. They just lose some of the fancier features that we get having a paid account. By buying into it for the library, the staff may create a separate personal space where they can do their home stuff if they so choose. So it's a little bit of a gift that they get.
I will tell you, I spend an inordinate amount of time reviewing tools and what works and what has high ratings and value. And Todoist is always the top of the list of organization in this type of collaboration. So when I saw it on the proposal, it's sort of for me a no-brainer. I think it's very well regarded.
Thank you. I put a lot of homework into trying to find something that I thought would fit the entire staff. We did our Clifton Strengths survey with the staff a couple of years ago, and individuation is one of mine, which means I like all individuals to be able to work the way they love to work, and this totally lets you do that.
Well, it was funny, maybe it's Freudian, but I'm about to say it's simple and straightforward, and then I looked up at the first comment underneath there that they're trying to bill it as simple and straightforward, but it really is. It just pushes it on. It's not a lot of fuss, which is what it can be the death of.
Quiz you could take, and so it's like, oh, this is a good style for you to start with, like based on what you described. So that was really
It's interesting because you go in and the quiz is for productivity type. And so I'm a getting it done person, and I think
right, let's eat the frog.
Eat
So
the
it's
frog
like
versus
picking
the
a
frog,
big
and-
thing to do when you first come in, because I get so easily distracted by other people needing me that sometimes I don't get the bigger things done so that I feel rushed towards the end of the day. So it's really interesting.
And then Kathy is a time blocker.
Time blocker.
So
Yeah.
just our tiny little department, we got to test out 3 different styles of utilizing the software, and everybody's already thinking, yeah, this can work for us. So,
And that's the free part that you've been using. You haven't even gotten into the nitty-gritty of.
yep, we're just finishing up. This meeting is perfect. We are literally just finishing up our 2-week trial of the fancier features. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Questions?
Any questions or comments?
Familiar with this.
Well, then, may I have a motion for a budget adjustment to approve the software?
I will make a motion to approve a budget adjustment of $2,000 from the undesignated revenue line 931, equipment maintenance, to purchase the Todoist.
I'll second.
And we have 2 seconds again.
Okay. I wasn't sure I heard the first second.
I said it
And
fine.
the last one.
Okay, we've had a motion to approve a budget adjustment of $2,000 from the undesignated revenue component to line 931. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those who disapprove, please say nay. Motion has carried. Thank you. Okay, next on our list, got to turn the page. Review of the assistance program for 2024.
Okay. In 2020, the global pandemic put a direct spotlight on the importance of normalizing conversations about mental health. In support of employee well-being, a formal employee assistance program known as an EAP was written into the 2021 budget. Uliance, based in Troy, Michigan, was selected, and their 1-to-5 fixed visit plan covering all full-time and part-time employees, library board members, and dependents was put in place. Uliance provides reports on usage while still protecting the privacy of the staff, allowing us to evaluate the value of offering this service. And I have distributed a report, so I will kind of go through some of that with you. The first page is really probably the one that you will be the most interested in. And it is the services by month. And it does show you the number of uses that we have had. And you're all included on my little well-being that I usually send out about once a month. Sometimes it's every other month. But I remind people that we have this service. The services that are included in here also do include, when they do outreach to the full staff, and they'll send out sort of a blast of like well-being articles or things like that. So we do get those included. But these are primarily calls into the service. And if you flip further in, you can see that we've had quite a few calls in. The next page shows you what the most prevalent concerns are, things like anxious mood. It does have some benefits for asking legal questions, grief, family concerns, those kinds of things, and you can kind of see the usage of that. So the next page where they talk about the reported impact of concerns by the clients, these do not together add up to 100%, because in this particular one on page 3, they could pick all that apply. So is it affecting you emotionally, physically, or at work, they could choose any combination of those, which is why emotionally it's at 100%, but the other two are a lesser percentage. So. And those were the main ones that I wanted to highlight, just so that you could see that this does cost us about $5,500 a year. It will be up for renewal as we are discussing the budget this fall. These are the 2024 numbers. Usually I get sort of a mid-year report, which is more indicative of how things go. We tend to see higher usage. I'm going to be honest, June, July, and August are our 3 busiest months of the year. We see more usage usually later in the year, that July and August, and so we're glad to have this support in place for our employees when they do feel the most stressed. Although you will notice that when Nicole was talking about the HR software, she spoke about staff capacity and rolling out things so that things are not as stressful. And as we talk about our strategic plan, activity plan, we're talking to the staff about building white space into your day and watching for burnout. So we're using a lot of the things that we're learning from this EAP to then help the staff roll out projects, address task and workload, and that sort of thing. So,
Julie, do you know off the top of your head what coordination of care? It was a high-touch service that received the most usage. Do you know what falls under that category?
I think coordination of care is when they're determining like who they're going to be talking to. So when you first call in, you call in and you say to them, I work at the Clarkston Independent District Library, I am one of the employees, or I am one of the dependents of an employee, and this is what I need. And so the person who answers the phone helps you determine, do you want a coach that's going to guide you through something? Do you just need a recommendation to someone for a particular service? Are you going to be setting up for 5 sessions of therapy? What is it that you're going to be doing? So that's probably the initial point. That's why the number is so high. It's the first point of contact.
Thank you.
And if you call in a second time, then they would be helping to redirect you. If you call in again for a different problem, they would be redirecting you.
So it's an assessment of sorts.
I think it's an assessment of sorts.
What's your insight into that service utilization rate? Why is it more than 100%?
Which page are you looking at?
That's on page 1 of the stat summary there, or to the left of high-touch services.
Service headcount, service.
Oh, the 169.5?
Yeah, and I was just curious, like, what metric is driving that, or what does that actually mean?
I'll be honest, I would have to ask our rep
I'm just
about that.
curious
I'm not
about-
sure.
about
I'm
us.
not sure. He's got a lot of stuff in here, and I was kind of focusing more in on the specific usage pieces and
Okay.
what they're using it for. One of the other services that's included with this, that I've been encouraging the leadership team to use, is when they have an HR question that they're not sure about, and even Nicole and I have used it some, they do have HR support as well. So you can call and say, you know, we have an employee that's having X situation, how can we best address this? And what are the best steps to take? And so some of what you're seeing is that usage as well, where we're double checking, not that we have anything that's been really serious, but we're double checking to make sure that we're taking appropriate steps.
Another resource to.
Absolutely, absolutely, yep.
Tim, I think this might be right above that number where it says 100 services and average head count is 59. So if there's 100 services for 59 people, it's 169%, which
Oh,
means
yeah, that's.
about 1.6 services per person.
Ah, okay,
But-
yeah.
That's,
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out where that math was coming from.
Thank you, mathematician, that was good. I was like, I'm not sure what that is.
Well, when we think about the fact that we instituted this during COVID,
Mhm.
and it seemed to help people deal with that.
From an anecdotal standpoint, I have had people come in my office and close the door and say, thank you for offering this service. So I 100% feel it's a great service. Our representative is always really impressed by our usage, because he said he feels that a lot of clients don't remind the staff, but I remind the staff on a regular basis.
Right. I like that.
And I think it's important, because if you're going to pay for it, you should make sure people remember that it's there. We did have Matt, who is our rep, who lives right here in Clarkston, come in and do an in-person training with the staff. He's also offered to come in. We do something on staff called Training and a Treat, where you can sign up, any staff member can sign up for a training session. The sessions are usually an hour. They're on random little training topics that we might want to do. And we put out, you know, cookies and potato chips and whatever, and you grab a snack, and it's a sort of like learning in a lunch, but it's a much smaller scale snack. But essentially what we do is that, and he's going to come in and do a couple training and retreats with us about like work-life balance and things like that. So we're looking forward to getting the most out of the service that we're paying for, so.
Can I ask two other questions?
Certainly.
One, do we know if its majority has been employees or employee family? Do they
Actually,
not-
the one concern that he had, and he suggested if I wanted to do better promotion, is that it has been all employees.
Okay.
And that even though we have encouraged people to have their families call if they feel like they need assistance, I thought, you know, I should find out how you do that. And I actually called in and I said, hey, so if I wanted to give this to one of my family members, my husband or kids or whatever, how would they, maybe that's the barriers, they don't know what to do. And they said, you have them call in the same way. They call and they say, hey, my mom works for the Clarkston Independence District Library and I need help.
Okay.
And they will help you. And then they have they just have a question that they ask, a couple of questions, basic questions that they ask that anybody would know, that has an employee in the family, so.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I think it's fantastic.
It's a very nice service.
And vital.
Yeah.
Interesting, the age groups that have accessed it.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting data.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments?
I like the way we can analyze it.
Mhm. And as we get closer to budgeting time, I'll bring in the numbers for this year, but I wanted to let you see how things went last year, and I'm trying to be very cognizant to share this information at the same rate that I have in the past, because it's very obvious that 2024, people really took advantage of the service and made the most of it, so.
And yet not at such a level that we're worried that we have a toxic workplace or something.
Yeah.
Because if you had twice that many people using it, twice that many contacts, you might think, ooh, what's going on around here?
Yeah.
Well, but it's not just for the workplace, it's
Yeah.
for general
Yep.
mental health.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, thank you for this, but also thank you for those monthly updates. Those are, I look forward to those. I find them inspiring. Thank you.
Thank you.
I know we all read them.
Reminders.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments or before we move on? This will be an investment update.
Next, ready for the next one? So for the investment update, at the May meeting, the library board formed an investment review committee, including Jan Gaffney, Nancy Moon, Maggie Sands, and Julie Meredith. This committee met with Kevin Mataway, the library's institutional investment broker with Fifth Third Bank, to discuss the current investment strategy and any changes we might want to consider. The current holdings are included in the packet. This is the portion of our Treasury securities laddering that is reaching maturity on July 10th, 2025. In addition, upon review, the amount in the money market fund could be reduced to allow a portion to be invested in a CD that would have a higher yield. The updated CD rates will be provided at the meeting, and I did hand that out off to the side to assure that they are the most current rate. It is the recommendation of the committee that the maturing securities be rolled over to continue the current ladder structure so that the amount would reach maturity in July of 2027. It is further recommended that $100,000 from the money market fund be invested in a one-year CD as presented at the meeting. So, there is a handout that, these are the slides that Kevin Mataway went through with us. So if you'd like to look more in depth, he's provided projections and some other details, but sort of the long and short of it is that the committee met with him for about an hour, and we decided that what we were doing was pretty good in terms of the laddering and the choices that we're making, but would make that one change of $100,000 into a CD. So.
And this still meets in with our plans of being able to access funds as needed.
We think so, yeah. Yep.
Well, it's 231, so if we take out 100,000, we've got 130 left. Plus, we have an account in a separate bank.
Right.
That's always easily accessible, so.
Yeah.
Well, and just remembering also that we're running on a 6-month schedule, so in January, we have to either roll over or not roll over.
Right.
So if we needed access, we all felt we were abundantly liquid, and therefore taking the 100,000 and putting it into something that earns us a little bit better interest would be wise.
Yeah.
Well, it's a good idea to review this periodically, make use of him.
Well, this CD concept he mentioned, if you recall, was something new that is insured just like our U.S. Treasury securities, so that we don't need to feel that we sort of stepped outside the box. We still have the same security. And at 4.3%, if I'm reading this correctly, is that the way you read it? For 1 year, it's 4.3?
Where'd my piece go? I'm sorry, I've given you so many handouts tonight. It's this last little piece. Whoop. Oh, there it is. I'm working my way down the pile.
It is FDIC
Yes, it's,
insured.
yep, FDIC insured, yep, and it's 4.3.
Yeah, so. And, the money market floats with the market, so thoughts are it will go down sometime in the future, maybe this year.
I think I would call everyone's attention to, just as not for any immediate actions, but looking at, future projections on where the market's going to go. He's still hard to predict right now, but he is still predicting a softening of the market over the course of the next
Few months.
year or so. So, but the Fed will do what the Fed will do. So we'll have to see what happens with inflation and et cetera.
So,
Anything over 4 is sounding pretty good.
yeah.
Might not stay there.
Yeah, I know.
So anybody have concerns of moving out that 100,000?
No, I think it was good that we waited till we saw how this was all
Yes.
gonna play out, but
And so the July 10th would roll over to be July 2016, and then we would have that 100,000 would be, basically June 2026. Okay.
Sound okay?
Do you need any kind of vote or anything from us?
I don't really think that I necessarily do. Just sort of the pleasure of the board is to take these actions. You could officially vote if you wanted to direct me to do that, if that would make everybody feel it was better documented. That's perfectly fine.
Fine with what we're doing.
Do
We
you
don't,
think we need a vote to take out the 100,000?
I don't think so. I think the board designated the subcommittee to research this with him. And you've done that. I don't think we need a separate vote. I think
Okay.
that's,
Okay.
you've done that, and you've made a decision based on the recommendations with the financial person, so I think that's good.
yeah, and I think it would get, we'd get too involved if we were trying to review investments every 6 months and figure out, where should we move it? I mean, we've got good investments, there's not a lot of options, our rate's fine, let it ride.
Yeah. And that's why we have someone advising us.
Yeah, probably in a year, when that money market comes due, we should have a discussion in advance of that.
Yeah,
Thank you,
Okay.
subcommittee.
you're welcome. Any other discussion items? If not, since we're well over our hour, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
A motion has been made to adjourn, and, we're approaching 8 o'clock.
7:47.
Full meeting.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone want to stay longer, please say nay. Okay, well, we're all going home. Thank you.
You're most welcome.